I was deprived of a young girl's dream by the cruel force of nature from the blue. Instead of a night full of romance supreme, all I got was a runny nose and the Asiatic flu. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Porches, and joining me today, his bumper sticker reads, "If this van's a rockin', don't bother knocking, sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet."
They killed her. They killed her. Robin.
And like Jamie Lee Curtis, he too dances like no one is watching. Bruce Leslie.
If I had a night, I would throw a prom.
Bruce is not in a well. He's in Baltimore. Where is it again? I forgot.
Chicago.
I'm in Chicago.
It's all the same thing.
I'm looking at the Married with Children fountain.
Oh, that's right. He's out there looking at old Al Bundy. So if he sounds like he's in a river, don't worry. He's in a major metropolitan city, but he sounds like that this week. But he is here, thank heavens, because we are on our Jamie Lee Curtis miniseries train here. Scream Queen-O-Ween, the films of Jamie Lee Curtis. And last we left, Jamie Lee wowed us with the original Halloween. Then we got a bit lost in the fog. From that same year, though, we are sticking pretty close to home here because old JLC's got us with Prom Night from 1980. This was Bruce's choice, right?
Yes.
I think it was my choice, but I also kind of would have chosen any of these movies, so I got a little lost in the mix there.
Okay. Now, was this had either of you seen Prom Night previously?
I thought I had, but I had not.
Yeah, I've never seen this either. I didn't see it till yesterday.
I've seen Prom Night 2, Mary Lou, or whatever that one's called, quite a few times. And I don't want to show my hand too early, but that is the tone I thought I was getting. I did not get the tone I expected from this film. I had not seen it before.
So we'll get into that and the kind of legend of this movie here and everything and the time that was and all that kind of good stuff. Before we do, though, we do want to say a giant thank you to the people that support this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and the Dinger Zone this week is a monster. It's almost an hour long here and everything. And again, see, this is why you got to join up over at Patreon, because this is where the good stuff really gets rolling. We are pitching movies this week. Sean, tell them about just sell them on it.
Right. So during Scream Queen-O-Ween, I realized that, hey, most of these movies are based on days on the calendar, right? You got your prom night, you got your Halloween, your Friday the 13th. So we are pitching 5 each, pitching 5 movies that are based around a calendar day. And some are legendary, some are not so legendary, but I thought we all did a great job and actually put some time and thought into it, which I was pleasantly surprised by and thrilled.
I did a little work this week, everybody. Congratulations. I know that wasn't me. You shut up. But
Adam is clearly the master of the tagline.
He is indeed. We learned that in the Dinger Zone this week.
I may not have all the ideas, but I can sell the people, boy. We got to put it on a poster. But yeah, so patreon.com/HMP, join up at any level, whatever is commiserate to how much you enjoyed this show. Put that back into form and send us our way and get more content at the exact same time. I am without a job, everybody. For the love of God, patreon.com/HMP. Elbow brother out. Let's get into it, boys. Here's the IMDb plot line for Prom Night from 1980. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. At a high school senior prom, a mass killer stalks 4 teenagers who were responsible for the accidental death of a classmate 6 years previously. Holy crap, for IMDb, this is like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10
that's
IMDb.
a really good descriptor.
Wow. Unbelievable. I don't know who wrote that, but you need a raise. Speaking of written, this was written by William Gray. He wrote The Changeling and many episodes of the RoboCop TV series, as well as Robert Guza Jr., who wrote, get this, 2,000 episodes of General Hospital.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a lot of episodes.
And the horror flick Curtains, Melrose Place, and Models Inc. What a varied career that dude had.
I can't even imagine what that dude's house must look like. My God.
Unreal. Directed by Paul Lynch, who did a movie before this called Blood and Guts and a movie after this one called Dark Room. He'd then do a lot of TV and pop up a movie every now and then in the 90s. He would do like the Dark Shadows TV series and then Drop Dead Gorgeous. This guy had an interesting kind of body of work too, with just nothing super high and crazy, but enough where we were like, this is interesting, this dude.
It's so weird that the best writer in this movie didn't write this movie. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
This is starring Leslie Nielsen in his most hilarious role yet. Casey Stevens and Marie Martin.
Small, even for the time.
Jeff Wincott and of course Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, man, old Leslie Nielsen getting top billing here because he is the elder statesman of this, and I don't know, does Leslie Nielsen get you money like for your smaller horror movie and everything?
I think
so.
I think what he does though is he adds some gravity. I wouldn't say gravitas, but gravity to your movie. You know, like, yeah, he's in Airplane at this point, right? No, Airplane's in 81.
Listen,
anyway,
I mean, he's been around since Forbidden Planet in the 50s. So
no, I know. But what I'm saying is that because he's such a solid actor, that you don't have, when people saw this movie when it was released, you don't have any of the Leslie Nielsen that we do in modern day.
Like the day before he decided to convert to comedy, because he was a more made for TV, dramatic,
serious actor,
Peter Lord type actor for a long time.
It's almost like your Dr. Loomis in Halloween. Like he's not a super famous name, but he does bring something to the table. Like he brings you a performance that at least you're going to get this much out of this movie.
Yeah.
He makes people think it's a real movie and not something like, the other stuff that we see.
That's a star, I know, because at this
movies.
Yeah, at this point, Jamie Lee Curtis, at least when they're shooting this and everything, Jamie Lee Curtis not a star yet and everything. So she's, Leslie Nielsen's still the guy that we're looking to kind of, sell this movie to the normies out there that just go like, oh, that's a guy I recognize from things.
He's top billed, yeah?
Oh, yeah, top billed. What's funny, though, is that, like, that it's so great that they're kind of going to, potentially at this point, you never know how things roll, but reboot the, Naked Gun series, but, with Liam Neeson in the Leslie Nielsen role, where it's just like, that's so perfect, because, again, it's like like Leslie Nielsen's, life and everything, going for more of these serious roles, and that's what made those movies so funny, is this straight man is having all of this, insane comedy stuff happen and stuff. That's what makes me so hopeful for that actually goes through and happens.
I would say that if the Naked Gun reboot works and works with audiences, Liam Neeson just found his third act.
Yeah, he really does.
That could be perfect for him, man. Yeah. It really could be. And that's like the kind of thing that you run out the clock on, and then you retire and do some personal appearances, and your grandkids get all this money. I mean, heck yeah, this could be the way he wraps it up.
But he is a very funny guy. When you see him with the Ricky Gervais, all those sketches that he did with him and stuff, hilarious. Dude is a very funny, who can do a dramatic thing but still be very, very funny. So I'm excited. Make that happen, world. So let's get into this movie. I feel like I'd seen this way back when. I know I bought a DVD of it for like $1 at some place, and it looks like it cost $1 too. And then when you put it in, it is like this full frame garbage piece of nonsense. And I was like, I ain't watching this.
Yeah, it's like some guy did the conversion in his garage.
Printed it up on something and sold it at a dollar store or something like that. But it's like, hey, it's $1 or something, so you don't care what you throw away.
Absolutely no one legal is getting paid in.
No, not at all. I've bought several ones like His Girl Friday. There's Dementia 13. Anything that's in the public domain, I have bought at a dollar store at some point or another. Because they just print them up and they're like, it's $1, and you go, well, it's $1. Let's see what happens. And they're normally absolute garbage, but you never know.
And yet usually you're like, never again. The dollar store will never get me again.
No,
you go
but
back and say, I am here to complain about the last movie I bought and also to buy a new movie.
this is what is full screen. I needed to pick up the widescreen version. Thank you very much. Punch me in the face, sir. This is a Walgreens. Which, by the way, I bought an amazing Blu-ray at a Walgreens once. I couldn't believe it. Because I saw it out the corner of my eye because I'd seen the movie and I'd know what the poster looked like because it's just words and everything. But it's for Keanu Reeves' movie Side by Side where they talk about film versus digital. So a film versus digital Blu-ray documentary was inside of a Walgreens for $5. I'm like, I have to buy this.
Oh, you got to buy that.
So, because it was the most bizarre thing ever. I was just like, picking up like some cold medicine or something. I'm like, is that in a Blu-ray, no less?
Had you already taken the cold medicine? Because you may not have seen that.
Oh no, no, not yet. No, I had not taken it at that point. So I was at least clear-eyed enough to see that hell of a bargain.
Where the cold medicine in a documentary seems like one hell of a night.
It was fun. So yeah, this I had not seen this kind of going in because I had not decided to watch that thing and everything. So as far as I was concerned, this was kind of a brand new watch for me as well. Mm. Let's talk about this opening scene. You guys are just a little older than I am here, but I know that we were, especially in the 90s and a little bit of late 80s, but certainly in the 90s, we could be cruel sometimes, for sure. Cruel kids. It just I think there's every generation that has it, but these kids screaming this stuff at this poor child, how is this even remotely, holy crap, where they're just screaming, the killers are coming to a small child and then bully her to essentially just fall out a window.
It's nothing compared to what Stephen King would have kids doing to each other in his book.
That's true.
Fair enough.
That is true.
Fair enough.
Kids were meaner, I would say, much meaner when I was a kid. There's a kid on our street. There's a kid on our street who he just moved in, and to prove his dominance over all of us, he took all of our matchboxes that we had in like carrying case, like you would do with your Star Wars action figures.
Yeah.
Except for it was for Hot Wheels and matchboxes, and he dumped them in a parking lot and crushed all of them with his feet.
Oh my God! Good Lord!
To prove who was boss. And I never spoke to that dude again.
I can't blame you.
How old were you when this happened?
It was like last year.
It was like 44.
No, I was like 6 or 7. I mean, I was young.
I'm loving the idea that it was last year all of a sudden.
My favorite Hot Wheels.
I had you guys over to play, and you act like a bunch of jerks.
Man, it was. I'm making it sound like I was much cooler about the whole situation. There might have been some screaming, crying involved.
I was going to say 6 and 7-year-olds don't walk away from buildings while they explode, while they smoke a cigarette and pop their collars.
Rarely.
No, there was some screaming and crying involved.
Yeah. Because somebody breaks my Hot Wheels at 7 years old, I'm going to cry, and I'm probably, you're still at that age where you heal fast. You don't really think about consequences. I'm probably rushing and trying to bite and scratch the kid.
We never committed manslaughter though. Well, and then hit it.
I love though they end up so
it's very different than most.
They just keep screaming, the killers are coming at this little girl, back her up to a window, and essentially she falls out back to the window. And once she's down on the ground and dead, all the kids are like, oh no, the consequences of our actions. It's like, you didn't think any of this could possibly happen, you dumb, stupid child?
I had a real philosophical quandary when this happened. I started to wonder if we don't focus so much on punishment. If they had called for help, maybe that child would have survived. But
right.
They're so afraid of getting in trouble that they don't call for help, so the child dies. And I wonder if we're so fixated on you better do what I tell you to that we don't actually care about the greater good. That wouldn't be the America we live in, would it?
No.
Thank Christ. Whew, I was
But
worried for
I think that was certainly of the time, though, for sure. Is like the punishment would be super crazy, you know, and as well as you might imagine it would be. But like, you still need to report that thing. I think over the times we've, at least as far as with kids gone, hopefully, I don't know, I don't have a child, so I couldn't quite tell you. But I think that we've gotten a little better with that over time, where kids would actually kind of say something as opposed to, you know, just going, we have to wash our hands of this, guys. We don't even need to go check on her to see if she's breathing. We need to wash our hands and get on our bikes and get the hell on out of here. Wild.
Yeah, my kids would, I mean, in an instant, be like, something really bad just happened.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to kind of parenting and everything, because we were always told, like, listen, as much as you think, you know, you'll get in trouble, it's going to be much worse if you don't, you know, report something like this. If something like this were to happen, we'll be much madder if you, you know, keep it from us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I show my hand here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had no expectation, especially after the travesty of last week's movie. The fog was such a bummer. I was like, man, we might find a hidden gem here with the fog, and it was just nope. There's a reason why no one talks about this movie. It's very dull and very boring, and the parts that are supposed to be scary are like sometimes funny, but mostly you're just bored.
But what about the fog?
That's what I mean.
The fog.
Oh. Do you get what I did there?
I do, but with Prom Night, the thing about Prom Night is that, like, it's a mess. There's clearly scenes that they shot that they meant to put in the movie that they had to add in a flashback somewhere, because they had a whole, like, you could tell, like, they had a whole thing like set up, and they just put it at, oh, there's also a madman on the loose, but you'll never see that guy. All of that, like the setting up red herrings and things like that.
I love the guy trimming the bushes that they set up as a red herring, but they do such a bad job of not really returning to him.
Right.
You see him like 3 times, and you're like, that's for sure happening.
But like, there, and some of the actors are better than other actors. Some of the sets are clearly like, oh, we have a day.
We're here at the school. Let's do what we can do.
But all of that being said, I love this movie. I think this movie. Wow. I think this movie is so trashy great.
I did not expect that.
I love all of the, like, because even though this was shot probably in 79 and released in 1980, this is a very 70s movie still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have all of the 70s-ness of this movie, and it's all there on the screen for you to enjoy. There are, like, there's throwback stuff, like people like getting served in their car, like things like that, at that fast food place.
Oh yeah.
The
trying to order beer at the fast food restaurant.
I mean, there's so many things about this movie to recommend it. It's fun. It's a very poorly put together movie, but it is fun, and I love some of the performances are so bad they're great. You know, that was one of the things that was missing in The Fog, is that there's nobody where you're like, sir, you are completely insanely acting here. Like, it was great.
I could be totally wrong, because her hairstyle would throw me for a loop, and sometimes I wouldn't realize it was Jamie Lee Curtis when it was Jamie Lee Curtis. But I feel like she just disappeared for a big stretch of this movie.
Well, that happens with a ton of actors in this movie. Like,
in The Fog.
Where is Leslie Nielsen in the third act of this movie?
Now, I agree that he does disappear, but also, like, I don't expect the principal dad to really be a main guy in it the way that I expect Jamie Lee Curtis, the greatest scream queen of all time, to be featured.
Here's a note I wrote down. Jamie Lee looks like a cigarette mom at 19.
She do.
She really does with that hair. Dude, she reminded me of all of my mom's friends who just had everything figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. She's got a lot of, like, divorcee energy in this movie for sure.
Yep.
The prom dress is just like, oh, that is somebody's mama's dress right there. My goodness.
She really became much less convincing as a high school student in the 3 years between Halloween and this, or the 2 years.
She definitely did. Yeah, she definitely did.
Because I know the release dates are only 2 years apart, but I think the filming might have been a little further apart. I don't know. But she does not look like the same kid, From this point forward, she's grown up Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, and also like they try to hip her up for this movie, with like the cool hairstyle, the cool 70s/80s hairstyle. Whereas in Halloween, they're just trying to make her like a normal ass teenager, which
she's the girl next door who comes to babysit.
Right. And with all of this being said, and I think that Jamie Lee Curtis is absolutely great in this movie. I think she's much better than she was in The Fog, because The Fog gives her literally nothing to do. Like, she has nothing to do.
Hey, she gets to bang Tom Atkins.
Yes. Yes. The hitchhiker who bangs Tom Atkins.
What a hell. It just decides to stick around.
But the secret sauce of this movie is Anne-Marie Martin. Anne-Marie Martin is amazing in this movie as Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
She is by far the best performer. She knows the assignment. She is so terrible. Like the character is so terrible, and she's relishing every moment. She steals every scene she's in. She's like, she's far more interesting than anyone else in the movie, with the exception of Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, you just want to follow her around. Like, what is she doing next? Oh, she's getting that ogre to like do something weird at the prom. Like all of that stuff. It's just great. And I was like, who is this woman? Because I recognize her. And I realized that I knew her from the TV show Sledgehammer, where she played Sledgehammer's like sidekick.
That is an underrated TV show, but this is not the Sledgehammer podcast.
No. And so I was like, oh, and then I did a deep dive on her. This lady has like one of the most interesting lives ever. She wrote the screenplay for Twister. She was married to Michael Crichton for 1,000,000 years. Jurassic Park is dedicated to her. It is a, like, talk about like a whirlwind of a life. Man, that lady is, she had it figured out, man.
But she was in the Doctor Strange TV movie.
She definitely was. We've seen her work before.
She's a regular on this program. My word.
Yeah, she's great. I think that the only reason why she's not, like, your eye isn't going to her like it does with Jamie Lee Curtis is there is just something about Jamie Lee Curtis, man. Like, there's just something so fascinating about that person. Whereas I think Anne-Marie Martin is giving a better performance, but all of the on-screen, whatever it is that Jamie Lee Curtis has, your eye just goes right back to her.
I agree that Jamie Lee Curtis is like a magnet. She draws your gaze, but she disappears from this to the point that I was ready to come in here with a tirade about how they misused her, but then they sort of saved themselves at the end, because this does have a phenomenal, like, in cheesy terms, phenomenal ending. I mean, you got to take phenomenal in the context of what we're talking about, but I love the ending of this movie. And so much of that is all on her shoulders, that no, they didn't misuse her, but they underused her. Some people would put forth an argument like, well, you use someone sparingly and you have a better effect. But this is Prom Night 2, man. I need to see her as much here as I did in Halloween.
So, like, I think that I think that you're right on that. I think that they do just like kind of toss her away. And keep in mind, when I say I love this movie is great trash. Like, this isn't something that I think is something that should be held up like, now this is how you do it. It is a mess. It's kind of awful, but I love it.
I've gone on record as like, my favorite trash is that David Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie. Like, that's what I say about like peak good trash to me. And a lot of what I like about it is it's like something is always happening, even if it's happening slowly and poorly acted and unconvincingly, something is always happening. In this movie, I feel like for the first hour, we're watching like I feel like we have a 1 hour first act, which is way too long. And then they squeeze 2 acts into 30 minutes to bring it home. And I really just wish that some of the slasherdom of this movie had gotten started a little bit earlier. But part of it is that they're trying to build up the true lore along with red herrings when they really spent too much time on the true lore for us to buy into any of the red herrings.
I wrote in my notes here. Ever wonder why kids leave the prom and go drink? This prom would do that. Maybe more dancing than Saturday Night Fever. First kill outside of the outside of the first one, the initial kill where the little girl goes. The first like kill is an hour and 5 minutes into the movie. It's a hot beat.
How well do you guys remember the movie version of Grease?
Oh my God,
plenty well.
Not at all.
Oh, because I used to love that movie. Because there's the dance contest where John Travolta's character, Danny Zuko, kind of dumps Olivia Newton-John for this girl. I think her name is Cha-Cha or something like that. And she's the best dancer in town, and Danny's the best guy dancer. So if they dance together, they'll win the contest. Well, anyway, Cha-Cha's hair, dress, the way she danced. And you got to remember, Grease is big, not in a different era than this.
Yeah.
And Jamie Lee Curtis looks so much like the movie depiction of Cha-Cha from Grease that I now want to know which movie came first.
I'm fairly certain Grease is first. It was before 1980,
but she's got a whole
right?
lot of Cha-Cha in her.
Well, that's always been said. I don't know why you have to keep saying it.
Two things I think about Jamie Lee Curtis: Cha-Cha and yogurt.
That is true. That was one of, for the longest time there. She was before she had the third kind of comeback for her career and everything. We were almost at a time where Jamie Lee Curtis was just going to be selling us poop and yogurt.
But I love her. I love her work. I love her attitude. I love what her public persona is. I mean, obviously, I don't know her as a person, but yeah, I'm pro Jamie Lee Curtis.
I like how so we kill this little girl. After that, it quickly becomes like a Christopher Nolan film for like half a second while this phone is dialing. It's kind of rad. Like it comes out of nowhere. It's this stylistic thing that doesn't show up anywhere else really. But like when they're calling and just leaving the I'm gonna get you sucker phone calls and everything.
Yes, which really don't play out at all.
No, it goes nowhere, but they're like just nice little threatening messages and everything, but like, and then traveling up the phone cord and ringing and doing the little cross cutting there and everything. Way better than it has to be.
Yeah. And also the lighting scheme in this movie also is far better than it has any right to be. You know, like it's not overstated either. You know, it's not your creep show style lighting.
But super competent.
Yes. There's a very like the people who made this movie not only are good at making movies, but they're good at like, oh man, we screwed that up. We got to fix that in editing. There's a ton of that in this movie too. I think this movie was probably much longer in the original cut because there is a lot of stuff that they just kind of leave on the floor because, like I said before, this movie is a mess.
Is this pretty much simultaneous when it's being produced with the first Friday the 13th?
More or less, yeah, because they're probably both shooting 79-ish.
They're both kind of trying to do the same things, and they're both missing in their first attempt what it was that made Halloween work, and that's the fact that Michael Myers was a monster and not a person.
No, we'll see. I'll protest that in as much as I think Friday the 13th, the initial one at least, they weren't going for Myers per se. They were going after just the holiday kind of esque thing of it and everything. It only really started to get into the actual thing once we got to like 2, but especially 3,
and all
of course.
I have to base this on is a documentary about the making of that I watched, but they basically said, yeah, we wanted to make a Halloween, so we made Friday the 13th.
Well, they wanted to make a profitable movie like Halloween using a holiday concept, but they were. I don't think they were quite ripping off. I'm saying
that they missed the point that what made did not understand that Halloween was a Michael Myers movie, right? Because Jason doesn't show up really as Jason until the next one. They miss it in the first one.
Oh yeah, they just thought the holiday was the key to it.
And Prom Night totally misses that your murderer needs to be a monster, because we get, the very human killer in both.
Yeah.
They're trying to make a giallo and not a slasher.
That's true. Sean, I do want to say this, because you mentioned it, and you're not wrong for the most part, but my note does say here, cinematography looks like it was shot through a used Kleenex. Because there's...
Well, that's... Yes.
That's a stylistic choice
there are
that they've
times
made.
where it looks like the film is completely degraded, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm looking at when I see that. It looks like it... They shot... It's clearly not because of the copy that I watched this with. It's more like they didn't put it into color correct or something.
I think it's a stylistic choice. I really do. I think they decided to make it look like this because it's very consistent.
Well, because of my travels, I was forced to watch this on my telephone. And I think it probably looks better smaller because it's lower. You know what I mean? Just so I don't know if the fact that you guys are watching it on 4K TVs and I'm watching it on I don't know what this thing is, like maybe a 6-inch.
Yeah, I mean,
difference, but it looked exactly like what I would expect a high-level independent production from that time period to look like. That's how I describe it on my phone.
I think that's more of what that's probably the thing I like most about this movie, is just that it feels like it's from an era that we'll never have again.
Yeah.
As much as they want to make it, they're never going to get it exactly right because this era is so messy with these movies. And it feels like, like what if you're watching an ABC after school special, it has the same feel as this movie. If you're watching something that was, shot on film with competent people in this era, and with the exception of something like a Spielberg movie, you're like, it all looked like this, all of it. And I love the look of and feel of this. It just feels so of my youth. And I think that's why I like it so much.
It's one of those where I would love to be on set with the old tungsten filament lights and like the old actual film cameras. Like there's something about this that makes me feel like I would feel like I was working on a high school project or a college project if I was on set for this film. Like you say, I just want to go back to that time that you can't recapture anymore, where it took more effort than it does now to make an indie film, but it could still be attainable because we are, getting a little bit more modern. There's just a magic time with that can-do attitude that I love, that I think this film is pretty squarely in the middle of.
Yeah.
He said all that, and all I could think of is just cooking under a Mole Richardson. No, thank you. You clearly ain't done that, have you? Because that'll cure that like, oh, this is fun. Nope, you want a light that doesn't heat you up like an oven.
Man, I mean, they still use Klieg lights. I mean, that is still a thing that they use.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta bump it,
but it is in the back of the truck. They don't use it every day.
Yeah, I've still got a guy I know that shoots indie horror, and he says when he's got his Fresnel prism on his light, he's got to be careful that he doesn't set shit on fire.
No kidding. How does Wendy drive a Corvette? How does this high school girl drive this Corvette and just be like? Now, granted, it makes you like her because she's kind of a badass.
I took it like this: that her parents are fabulously wealthy, but she lives with grandma because the parents don't have any time to raise their kid. That's what I took that as. I am quite sure that is in a script somewhere that we shall never see.
Yeah, but and they had access to that awesome car too, and that's why they wanted to really put it in. That's great production value.
Time period too, where you could buy like a brand new Mustang for $5,000 or a brand new Corvette for $8,000. So she just had one of those families that sprung for the Corvette. Like, life used to be more affordable, and I don't want to sound like a TikTok meme, but I swear it just used to be a little bit different.
But yeah,
can I tell you something? Can I tell you something to get us off track for a second here?
Yeah.
I was watching the Netflix special on Ted Bundy. And at one point, a guy is talking about how he was almost like he was mixed up with Ted Bundy somehow. Like he's the last person to see a girl alive, like something like that, because he worked at a gas station. And he says, I was working part-time at a gas station because I wanted to buy a brand new Mustang.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
And I was like, there's a comment that I don't think I've ever heard. I don't think that's a thing that you could do when I was in high school. You definitely couldn't do that.
I'd like to have a part-time job to pay for this $60,000 car, please.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
I mean, when I was, I'm sure they probably had parents for cosigners or whatever, but like when I was in school, people would work minimum wage. I'm guessing making $70 a week. So 4 weeks a year's $280, and they're probably making a $200 payment on a new car. Like you could get a new car back then for a $200 car payment, but it wasn't necessarily a Mustang, but it would have been more like maybe a IROC C or a Camaro or something.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. I remember kids making their own car payments.
Speaking of old times here, in this movie, there are 4 photos per page in this yearbook. What the hell's going on? Are there 45 kids at this high school? You got a 3x5 cutout in there suitable for framing on like every picture. What the hell's going on?
I graduated. There were 13 people in my graduating class, and we still didn't have yearbook photos that year.
It is comically large. I love it so much.
You graduated in a class with 13 people. Was your yearbook like a pamphlet?
It's a flyer.
Our yearbook was from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Oh, I see.
And out of the, not to make it a bummer, but out of the 13 people I graduated with, there's only 9 of us still alive.
Lordy.
Wow.
So really kind of sad. We're like who's next,
Wow.
Now if you blink, you're going to miss it. But when they go through and they tear out the page in the high school yearbook and everything, this has to be a thing that was purposely designed. There is a picture of, I can't tell you what, it's a person of color. It's a guy who's behind in the bottom right corner, and he has the goofiest look on his face that is 1000% there on purpose, because he looks like he's probably a crew member or something, just going, ugh, and they took a picture and put it right in there because it's too humorous not to. There's no way that was real. That had to have been a production thing, but just some little weird face at the bottom. I'm just going, what the hell is that?
What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet this? The most expensive line item in this movie is the Corvette, but number 2 is probably that yearbook that they had to have made.
Yeah, you got to custom that whole thing.
A yearbook's not cheap. I remember
I know.
I still had to get it made. Yeah,
I mean, it cost those things are, if we're going 1980s money, $30-$40, and that's at cost. So that you're printing a couple, we'll say 100 even, maybe. I don't know. No, yeah, that's got to be up there. You're right. Corvette yearbook line items down there, and
probably because
then we pay Jamie Lee Curtis
so that it looks like a yearbook, because it does look like a yearbook when he pulls it out.
Now, do you print a whole new yearbook, or just print a wrap, get some existing yearbooks at rummage sales, and put page inserts?
It looked too good.
If it's me, I do the latter. But my guess is, because this is an independent movie and they had to do things on the fly real fast, they probably inserted pages into an actual yearbook already,
maybe,
because that way you can just you can change out the pages if the actor screws up, because the actor will screw up,
right? Because I would hate to think you got one yearbook printed and then the first take and you get a rip right across the face.
Well, they wouldn't have done that. Like there's a very famous story of Dumb and Dumber, and I might have said this on the show already, where the prop master on that show, they're out in the middle of nowhere shooting the diner scene. And so when you watch Mike Starr take a bite out of his burger, he's actually biting where there's already been a bite. because they only had those burgers that the actors have that because the prop master completely forgot to get multiple
more burgers. That's so good. That's what I'm talking about. Like those little things happen sometimes. And as a totally like backyard filmmaker, just having fun with my kids and friends and family, if you only have one of something and you have to get it right in one take, don't tell anyone.
Right.
just do it and hope that whatever higher power you believe in is on your side, because as soon as you tell someone, that will be the person who messes it up.
It's true.
Yep, that's why I just grabbed that cupcake and threw it at that guy's face. You guys know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I like the masked assault at school. What the hell is like in the middle of like the lunch line and everything? It's like this is kids. If kids was in California in the 80s, they were just beating the shit out of this kid. And you're like, what is going on here, bro?
Yeah, that's insane. Also, I'm glad that you bring this up because I just realized that they're trying to tip their hand that this is the guy who's the killer.
I didn't notice that. I didn't understand that until an hour before we recorded the show. I was like, oh, you know what I'm thinking now. But yeah,
I think I'm just now making any kind of sense out of this because I just gave up on any logic applying to this movie.
Well, because they didn't really
give you
previous.
They give you different moments, right? Because like the Adam talking about the lunch line assault where he just goes crazy because they're going after his sister. And so that's part one. Part two is when they're in the office and Leslie Nielsen is like, I am going to treat my son differently than you because you are a loser to that that Mongo looking guy.
Yeah.
And then and so they're giving you another reason why this guy is the killer is because he doesn't get punished for his bad actions.
There's one weird point with him. When Jamie Lee Curtis is actually getting ready for the dance, she looks at her brother and she says, are you going to come over here and help me like a gentleman or just stand there and leer? And he said, I'm your brother. I'm just going to leer. Either he didn't know what leer meant or the people who wrote this don't know what leer meant, but that is not the answer, right?
It was an odd one.
It's very, very weird. There's again, there's a lot about this movie that makes it weirder. Sense.
What makes it weirder is immediately after saying, I'm your brother, of course, I'm just going to stand here and leer, he then goes and helps. Like, so none of that makes any sense.
Well, she forces him to do it. She just goes, now you're going to get over here and put my necklace on. It's like, why are you being an a-hole? I'm asking you to clasp a necklace.
There's the part where they say, you're going to kiss her. And he goes, but it's my sister. She says, just kiss her. Like, are they trying to put some kind of like weird...
Oh, some weird mustard on that.
Incest kind of stuff on this.
I see.
I felt like there might have been a hint of something.
Like he is so romantically in love with his sister that he's killing people to protect her or something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because this does predate the brother-sister reveal of Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I had not put that.
This might be why they put the brother-sister thing in Halloween is because of this movie.
Yeah, this movie is the one that did it. I wrote down in my notes, bring back hot pants.
Yes, please.
I thought that was very important. I was just
for both men and women.
God bless. Yeah, well, hey, listen, man. Listen, dudes' shorts
they used to call me hot pants in middle school.
Dudes' shorts are getting shorter and shorter, man. So the wish is being currently granted.
Sean would stand my hot pants comment.
Listen, we don't.
Who's that over there? That's Hot Pants Leslie.
Nothing of what you just said is true.
My mama calls me Hot Pants.
Everything you just said is wrong.
I've got mooning the groundskeeper. Always a fun time.
Yeah, that was great. That is something that like a girl would never do now. I don't know if they did it then either.
Yeah, the only mooning people I remember as dudes. Yeah,
I remember that in the 80s, we would get some kind of bizarre credit from our friends for successfully mooning.
Right.
And I have no idea who the victim is in a movie at this point. Like, my bare ass was exposed to strangers. I might have been the victim.
You know what's always good is the bus mooning, the multiple bus mooning, where it is like every ass window has an ass in it.
Never been involved in a mooning. Would have been school bus mooning.
So good. So get this. We were involved in a bus fake throwing up that led to a real throwing up.
Oh wow!
Actually, it started with a real one. Somebody in the back vomited, and then everybody like threw their head out the window and acted like they were vomiting out because we all thought it was funny. And then the kid in front of me threw his head out the window, and I thought he was also going to join in on the festivities. But then he threw up all on the side of the bus.
Ooh!
Then the bus driver, who never ever said a single word the entire time he ever drove our bus, just quietly pulled over to the side of the road, walked across the street to the fire station, disappeared, walked back, wiping his mouth with a paper towel, got back in the bus, and drove the rest of the way home.
That's so good. So, Sean, did you ever participate in mooning someone?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was in sports, so yeah. I mean,
did you do the butt cheek spread?
Oh, the spread, Jesus Christ!
No.
Okay, because that's when it crosses the line. I grew up, a lot of people would do one hand on each butt cheek and pull apart.
Wow.
They really wanted you to see the orifice. And I'm not down with orifice exposure.
Well, it's good. That's good. That's good to know.
Taking a hard line, Leslie.
Yeah, I tell you, hey, listen.
No orifice exposure on this school bus, buddy.
Hey, listen, it's nice that he's willing to take a stand, and I'm here for what he wants to do. Let me ask you this, boys. Is it a good or bad thing if you and your prom date were to change clothes and it would only take a few seconds for people to know that something was off, like same height, same hair, basically the same build and everything? Because that's what I see when I see both of these two walking down the thing. I'm just like, they could each be wearing each other's clothes and we wouldn't know the difference.
Good point. I didn't think of that, but you make an excellent point.
They're both just slender enough, just kind of, the hair's close enough.
Yeah.
People be like, is that, oh, wait, no. Wait, why are you wearing each other's clothes? That's weird. At least 5 seconds.
I couldn't figure out, is this movie let me start over. One of my favorite things is when in old movies, it's set in a high school and they have like a 40-year-old playing a kid.
Yes.
Are there is anyone like that in this movie for you? Because I really couldn't tell.
Jamie, like I said, Jamie Lee's while she's 19 still looks both.
30.
Go ahead, Bruce. You got it. You're having a hard time.
Curtis looks 30.
Yo, yeah.
Yes, but she's not. But
I know.
But I know what you mean.
I guess.
And I think that's probably what was throwing me, is that she does look older in this movie, but even though because she's not. So maybe that's what was throwing me, but there wasn't a single kid where I was like, come on, man, that kid is 40.
No.
And there's also a weird thing where people from a generation ahead look older than they are.
Right.
Like it's crazy because I know, I look at pictures from my dad's yearbook and I think everybody looks so old, or my mom's yearbook. But then recently I was showing pictures of my yearbook to these people in their late 20s that work with me. And they say, everybody in your yearbook looks 40.
Yeah.
And when I look, they all still look like the dumbass kids I knew, So that makes it tricky when it's a period piece like this to really evaluate age.
I wrote this note. I said, old girl in a dress, that's a prom dress. Jamie Lee, grandma wants her smock back when you're done. And like I said, 50 minutes in, we finally get to the prom itself. So a movie called Prom Night, it takes 50 minutes to get to the prom in an hour and a half. Yeah.
Man, and it does. It is a lot of dancing.
So
they
much
linger
dancing
on those kids dancing forever.
But you got to remember, though, we are fairly enough off the heels of Saturday Night Fever to where they're still trying to milk that bad boy a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Because the theme of the prom is like disco night or something, right?
So I got a list of all the kind of the ripoffs. We got a Macho Man ripoff. That was great. A Born to Be Alive ripoff. An I Will Survive ripoff. There's some really good sound alikes in here that are just super fun. I'm just listening, going the van fight. There's when he's going around fighting the guy in the van there and everything.
Yeah,
which is the highlight of the movie for me.
It sounds like the Eagles Take It Easy, like in certain parts.
Yes, yeah,
so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is our van guy here Slick? Is he the character of the movie? I think.
Well, we already know Bruce's answer.
Well, yeah, of course it's for Bruce.
No, he's way too dorky for me.
This guy's my favorite part. My favorite part, I think, of the entire movie is our boy Slick, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, he's just kind of a fat guy who would normally be just the dopiest, loser guy in the movie and everything. Even this, because it's the 80s here, even he's getting some action. So he's
getting it done.
Van.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got the sweetest van you've ever seen.
He's got the shaggin' wagon.
That van.
He's got like a dictionary where you cut the pages out so you can hide your joints in there.
So good.
He's got a lot of joints.
He's got a lot. So
a lot of joints back when they rolled them, in the zigzags or whatever, so they're like white as toilet paper
and loose. That means they're all fake.
and it's a beautiful van, but it's also in the era where vehicles were the most flammable thing on earth, because when that van explodes, it is so great. There's amazing. Nothing I love more than a ludicrous van explosion. And it explodes, and all I can think is he's still got like 30 joints in there. So the smoke from that burning van is going to be somewhat intoxicating to whoever's at the top of that hill.
So he finishes the deed with the girl and then just goes like, I'm going to go out to take a leak here and everything. He goes out. They're having this conversation. This is my favorite part of the movie where she just goes, am I the best you ever had? And this MFer goes, nah. He's kind of throwing it off like, I've had better than you. I thought that was the best shit I've ever heard. It was just like,
and it done. Yep. Yep. Fatso getting it done. Pretty great.
It was her first, and then the murderer.
The frills on his shirt and everything. God bless. It's so amazing. Good. So good.
Man, I wish I could live in this world. It'd be worth getting murdered in high school to live in this world.
Another note I wrote was, can we get some score? I'm about to fall asleep during murder scenes.
There's at one point where they're at school and something breaks some glass on some mirrors. They go to investigate. And I think they must be going to the band room where everyone is tuning their instruments. And I realized, no, that's supposed to be the score.
Oof.
It was that bad.
There's like a lot of like weird kind of rising and fallings, and like there's some interesting stuff that like gives you like this off kilter kind of feeling and everything, but like they don't really develop that and put it in places where it should obviously be, or variations of some sort of theme. But like we get to the point where we're chasing and fighting people, and all we're hearing is faint disco music in the background. It's like, brother, you can throw more music in here. It's allowed.
It's like they bought the short ends from other movie scores.
Listen, we spent all of our money on this song that kind of sounds like Macho Man, so shut up. We couldn't spend it on somebody to write, a basic kind of that John Carpenter bing, 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 bing. We can't even do that. Too much work. I said it's also like Carrie, only we took out all the cool things that made Carrie Carrie.
Yes, there's, it's the same problem with the fog, right? Is that the fog, like, we'll just make Halloween again, just instead of having this amazing, monster killer guy, we'll make it pirates in the fog, and it's like, dude, that ain't the same. That is not the same.
No, it's cool,
and it feels like that with this too. It's like, well, you know what was successful is this thing. So let's do the same thing, only because we don't understand what people like about this thing. We'll take out the part that's the best.
Yes, exactly.
Replace it with this, which is second rate and crap.
It's like we don't need Michael Myers. We just need an identifiable day on a calendar.
Right. Right. Exactly. And it's the same thing with this, right? Is like, there's no pig's blood getting dumped on. There's no dirty pillows. There's no like weird mom where you're like, oh man, that mom creeps me out. Like,
there's just a wildly unathletic killer.
It's just it's just pretty. It's just pretty great. Like, it just really, like, everything that we're saying that's bad, I agree with. I agree with everything that you guys have said. I still like this movie a lot.
Think of the missed opportunity here, though, because they could have given the girl who fell out of the window the Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees treatment, and she could have been the first female monster slasher from the 80s.
I'm kind of surprised that's not the way they went, knowing what Prom Night 2 is.
Yeah. And, apparently someone may have recognized what they missed, and that's why they made Prom Night 2, which next time we talk about movies where the sequel is superior, I will have to mention Prom Night 2.
There's 4 of those bad boys. I just looked that up. I didn't realize there were 4 prom nights. That's crazy.
Getting better?
Well, you go.
What do you think?
Doubt it.
It's usually the trajectory and everything. I like how our old Mongo boy gets his head decapitated and goes out there and the teacher's response is, "Don't panic. There's a head on the dance floor. Don't panic, sir."
That's the scene of the movie, though. They knew that is the movie people. That's the scene people are going to talk about. That's
they knew.
Sell tickets.
Yeah.
Was this movie a hit? Did scenes like that sell tickets? I don't feel like this has a big place in the cultural zeitgeist.
No, I would say to you that it had to be successful enough that they're making sequels to it.
Well, I watch a lot of bad movies that get sequels, but that's just me.
I almost thought the killer was going to buy it by a slip and fall. I mean, Mike Myers takes 6 slugs, falls out a window, walks away. This guy rolls an ankle, and it's all over.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Yeah. I like that he's continuously fooled. Also, when our lady's running around in her red dress and hiding from him successfully, very successfully, she hides from him for 7-8 minutes.
Oh, best shot of the movie where she's peeking over the little science desk there, and her eyes are reflecting on the thing and stuff. Best shot of the movie.
Again, when they're on, they're on. When they're off on this movie.
Oh yeah.
But man, it's one of those movies where if you have this on in the background, it's great. Don't look for answers from this movie. It's not that movie, but it's just fun. This is a fun movie. I would have it on during a Halloween party or something for sure.
Oh, heck yeah.
This is my last little note here. I said, wrestle around with the killer on the dance floor while Jamie Lee Curtis nervously holds an axe above you, waiting for the right time to bring the axe down. But by the way, she's holding the axe so she's going to fuck it up. So it's she just does. But when she does, she swings the axe at the killer, but she only hits him with the handle. You had one job. You could have chopped at him again, but no, you put the axe on the ground. Genius as always, movies. I love it.
She couldn't kill her own brother.
But she could have killed somebody.
This ain't that movie.
Did she know at that point, though? I don't think she knew at that point when she was the first time she definitely didn't.
But I'm saying,
but she still can't do it. Whether she knows it or not, that's the whole.
Yeah, whether it's by her own agency or not, it doesn't matter. You can't have that happen.
Or it's the saddest, no.
But that's what I mean. This isn't that movie.
Yeah, we're not.
If she kills her own brother, then the whole point of the movie is how her lack of judgment led her to kill her own brother.
Well, listen, that's been the whole thing. It's a family full of killers at this point. Am I wrong?
Look, man. Look, I totally look. You're right about that. That does make for a far more interesting movie. But the problem is that's a real goddamn bummer.
Yeah,
that's not what this movie is. This movie's fun times, kids.
Come Born to be alive.
That's what this is.
It's not like shit. Now, so we got to ask this. Jamie Lee Curtis, is she doing in this role?
It's not her fault, but she's underutilized. But boy, if she doesn't bring it home at the end, nobody else. No, she is that relief pitcher that kind of pisses you off because he gets paid $1 million a year to come in and throw 6 pitches at the end of the game. Well, she's that person who comes in and you're glad she's on your roster today.
Yeah.
But you still wonder why she paid so darn much to come in and throw 6 pitches.
Yeah, but man, she's great. I mean, she's great in most of the things she does, and sometimes by no work of her own. It's just she's just so captivating. you can't help it. Like she just she brings everything up about this movie. If she was not in this movie, I totally doubt we would know that this exists.
Oh,
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, if we recast this role, you guys go, this movie is. And don't let me put words in your mouth, but do you think this movie rises and falls on her at this point? Because I feel like I feel like we could replace her with somebody. I don't know who it would be, but I feel like she adds enough. Like she has a certain something. I will definitely say that there is a little. She's
gone from being the final girl to almost being the Dr. Loomis. Like in this, like Donald Pleasance. Like her part is small, but nobody else but her could do it.
Brother, if she would have put on a trench coat at the end of this, you'd have had a change score for my fans. I'll tell you that right now. I will tell you that would have changed my score completely, because I looked into that girl's my brother's eyes for years, and all I saw was pure evil.
Your disinterest and apathy. Just pure indifference.
Well, let's get down to it, boys. There's only two forms that movies come in. They are either art or fart. We'll start it off with Sean. I don't know why. I got a good feeling for it. Sean is the Prom Night from 1980. Art or fart for you?
This is the rarest time. I don't think I've ever done this before. I love this movie to death. There is nothing artistic about this movie. the cinematography at times is pretty great. But it is a choppy editing room floor, crazy by half. Like it's so fun and I love it. But this movie is not art. This is a fart of a movie. But man, it's a great fart.
Hey man, sometimes farts are funny, entertaining.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah,
Bruce, art or fart?
I have to agree with Sean on this one. I've got to go fart. And I think this is the first time I've rated a movie fart, because I tend to be very forgiving and understanding. But I really think an hour to get to the action was too long. I found myself pretty bored. I felt like they wasted their best asset, which is Jamie Lee Curtis, of course. And I think they missed an opportunity to get the killer right. So I was just going to go pure on fart. Like, this is all the mistakes that we learn from.
Gentlemen, you ignorant sluts. This is clearly art. No, I'm kidding. This is fart. I am not. It's too slow. It's like I said, there are ways that, and it's the bitch of it all too, because there are ways that you could fix this and at least gussy it up enough to where it's a little bit more palatable. I really think adding a much better, broader, more interesting score to this could do wonders for this movie, much less some editing choices and stuff like that. But if you had those two things in there, you kind of had a little bit more eye towards the edit and a little bit more in the kind of, score department there and everything, I think that could take this up. Maybe not to the art level, but maybe not quite nearly as farty as it kind of seems here and everything. But I think it is, we'll call it appropriately rated within kind of the horror community, because I think enough people know about it, but it's not one that, like you said, we go back to or is referenced enough, like your Halloweens and whatnot. So that one, or even The Fog for that matter. And The Fog's not mentioned, nearly as much. Not if you listen to Janet Leigh, of course. She has everybody and their mother coming up to him going, "That's the best movie I've ever seen."
They just would just dogpile her, telling her how great The Fog is.
They saw me at the AM PM and they're just like, "I saw The Fog last week for the 5th time in the theater, and my God, it was amazing."
Did you end up watching that documentary, Adam?
No.
It is jaw dropping when she says that. People come up to me all the time.
I did see that portion of it. I saw that. I did see that clip, and I was like, bullshit. There's no way they don't come up to you about Psycho. They come up to you about The Fog. Okay, sure.
Yes, yeah. You're Janet Leigh, and they're coming up to you to talk to you about how great The Fog was.
Right.
Sure.
What a crock! Unbelievable, but yet wildly.
People that have never heard of Psycho.
Yeah,
just unreal. Just unreal.
Ugh. So that'll do it, everybody. We got another one of our Jamie Lee Curtis Scream Queen-O-Ween, the films of Jamie Lee Curtis, under our belts. We got one more to go. Up next, we're fast forwarding all the way to the 90s. So slap on your Jinkos and get ready, boys and girls, because we're talking Halloween H2O from 1998. I don't know that I've seen this since probably 1998.
I've never seen it.
The theater. I saw it in the theater, and that's it.
I ain't never seen it.
I will have an amazing story about my little brother in I guess maybe it was middle school or whatever when this thing came out, because it's funny. It's a good little fun story where you're just like, teachers are stupid. Until then, Sean, where can we find more of our stuff on the internet?
We have a YouTube channel called Half-Assed Movie Podcast on the YouTubes. Please check that out and subscribe, and subscribe.
He's getting the link
because we are getting subscribers. Like we've got a good number there. I was really surprised. I looked it up this week. I was like, holy crap, that's a lot. So if you haven't, please do that.
Yeah, I mean, HMP is on YouTube there as well, so go check us out there. And
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. HMP on YouTube.
While everybody's there, go ahead and do that, man. We really appreciate it, and I need to fill out all the paperwork to actually get that properly monetized.
Yes.
That is. Oh, and join me, everybody. I am doing a 31 Days of Halloween Horror on TikTok. I have, I'll have a little one talking about this movie today as you hear this and everything. So go check out that. And we got 10 more days after that too. So we got a lot of fun things to do. Check that out. Just follow Adam Portress on TikTok. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we continue our last installment of Scream Queen-O-Ween, the films of Jamie Lee Curtis with the Halloween H2O from 1998. For Bruce Leslie, Sweet Sean and Kovacs from the internet, I'm Brad Portress, reminding you that the only difference between art and fart is an F.